It's been about 9 months since Ara History Untold quietly released, and a lot has changed since then. An interesting 4X, turn-based strategy with grand feeling elements and a really unique resource and goods system. Today we revisit Ara. What makes it tick, and how has it changed? One such change since release saw Stardock take on the responsibility of overseeing design and production of the game. I mention this because they also happen to be the sponsor of today's video. My thanks to Stardock for providing me with an early look at this build update 1.4. If you'd like to learn more, you can check out Ara using my handy little link down below. Let's get on with the show. Settling back into Ara History Untold, right, of course, at the start of the game, I'm reminded of the new civs, leaders. I mean, there are pairs in this game intrinsically that have been added, especially since the 1.2 modding update. Each one with their own traits, sometimes benefits, sometimes drawbacks. Difficulty here is very important, and we'll talk a bit about the AI and difficulty later on in the video. For now, I choose an also new Earth map, though this one I think came out a while ago in update 1.1. And of course, selecting a nation like Italy, I find myself in a rather purposefully crowded spawn. And immediately, of course, the next thing that strikes me is the orders system. In Ara History Untold, it's a turn-based strategy game, but orders are carried out simultaneously between turns. And that includes things like moving around your units or exploring some of the new diplomatic actions. Update 1.3, indeed, the diplomacy update not only added a nuclear option to the final parts of the game, as well as all the kind of diplomacy I love to mess with. Slander, bribe, you name it, it's all there. The core of Ara History Untold, and something that I am absolutely guilty of, you will see throughout this video, is the crafting, the goods, the supplies, the amenity that you provide to your cities. There is just so much depth here. Thankfully, in the early game, your options are somewhat limited, so you can kind of get a feel for it. Here, for example, I'm crafting in a workshop some lithic tools. These tools will ultimately be used to supply other buildings and rapidly, drastically speed up their production speed on whatever amenity they may be producing. Now, all of these amenities and many other things go into shaping the quality of life of a city. This is really the living part of the simulation. Each one of these 5 aspects, take health here, super important, for this is what provides a massive boost or debuff to city growth. Knowledge does the same for your research speed. 50 is considered kind of middle of the road, no impact. If you go above that, you'll see great positive benefits, potentially doubling your tax income, or significantly increasing your force strength with security. Of course, buildings improvements actually play a key role here as well, particularly as you move through the technological eras, move through the game. You'll start to get different types of improvement, and some of those will directly impact on the quality of life of your citizens, like the security-inducing watchtower. In Update 1.4, the Living Strategy View update, not only kind of providing a very new viewpoint for the game, detailed, close-up, and the default view, it also made some changes around micromanagement reduction. So now as you expand out your city, grow to new territories, and start to build new improvements, the citizens will automatically supply them with goods. They will automatically supply those tools to the buildings that need them. This, therefore, reduces a lot of the micromanagement, the really micro-scale stuff around supplying individual buildings and needs. It helps a lot, especially as you move through the game. Speaking of moving through, one of the other things that struck me a little bit settling back into Ara History Untold was the military and the combat system. Here you train units and then deploy them. They spend a few turns mustering, and then you're able to march around the map with them. In Update 1.4, the Battle View panel gives even more information than it used to. You can now get, I feel, a much better sense for what is actually taking place in these often deeper and longer fights. We'll return to combat and some other clips from some more fights a little later on, but I think it's important here to also acknowledge that it's not just which units you train, and of course how you deploy them with increasing formations unlocked as you move through. but also how you support them with the security that we were talking about earlier. Or maybe outside of the needs of your cities with these paragons, which can actually be assigned in a whole load of different ways. Assigning them to a force may provide extra sight and speed, like this one could here. Alternatively, I could craft masterpieces, or place them as an overall advisor, providing some sort of benefit, again depending on the actual paragon themselves, to the Empire more broadly, or at the very least, to my cities. Combine that with the events in Art of History Untold, which generally speaking don't feel too invasive. They feel like they complement the game rather than distract from my sort of overall grand mission. And you have lots of different ways to influence your military, to influence your strength. The key one, obviously, is going to come through research though. If you can out-technology your opponent and train a reasonably strong force, then you will be a force to be reckoned with. Just like me here, choosing to, of course, assimilate the city of Madrid into my growing empire. If we step beyond the technology as a means to gain military strength, there's actually something much deeper going on here. A game of Art of History Untold is divided into both technological eras as well as overarching acts. There are 3 acts in total. On the technology front, here we see new improvements, sometimes upgrades to existing ones, as we sort of progress through a rough structure of human history, right? Moving from stone to concrete, or whatever it may be. Each act within the game is divided into these eras, new technologies on offer. You can choose to skip some if you like, potentially leaving improvements, buildings, or units behind until you unlock a superior version or an overlapping technology. So as you move through the 3 acts, again divided into 4 technological eras, you do seem to, in this version at least, have the opportunity to pick up something you might have lost or just get a superior version of it. Sometimes racing through is the viable strategy. Other times, though, there is just so much on offer within each era, so many industrial improvements, crafting recipes, new ways to improve the life of your people. There's also a little bit of a rough edge to this blade should you be in the bottom ranking players, like the bottom 2 or whatever it may be, depending on your size. You may get wiped out after, in this case, 4 players have advanced through into the next act. So do take care, for if you're really flailing, you may just fail. And honestly, I really like that. Here you can see the end of Act 1. I'd progressed through a little bit. I had better technology than, in fact, even the person who beat me, which is terrible to see. Because, of course, the game is about prestige, and prestige is really a measure of all things. It's your military, it's your culture, it's your technology, it's your economy. All of your achievements within the game, big or small, factor into that overall prestige rating, that ranking. And this, I think, overall helps actually to give Art of History Untold quite a definitive standout difference from other titles, if the sort of grand strategy come resource managing elements weren't quite enough. You can play a military game, you don't have to. Victory is very open-ended, yet also if you just do well, you will succeed. As you move through the ages, better stuff becomes available. Now I'm producing carriages, and the future will get even more advanced. This is really noticeable when it comes to amenities. All of a sudden, you're not just making bread, now you're making pastries, and they are so delicious. Taking away a little bit of health, but providing a lot of benefit otherwise. There's so much power, really, to uncover by just kind of finessing your crafting a little bit, finessing your cities to produce really the best possible goods you can. Your military also sees a similar kind of upgrade process to the improvements within a city. Here as well, resources matter. You need horses, or you can't train cavalry. You're also going to need some fundamental materials, like, for example, steel, iron, these things, but that become increasingly important as you move through. Maybe reach out to the New World and establish some territories over there, and of course engage in a little bit of good old-fashioned diplomacy, a bribe to increase your relationship with your new neighbors. Putting that to one side, let's focus a bit more on Ara's longer-term vision, okay? So far in this video, I've quickly gone over some of my key highlights from the free updates that have rolled out since the game released in September 2024. And just a quick look at the reviews suggests to me at least that the general impression of Ara History Untold has improved significantly over that time period. And I think this latest update that is out now, update 1.4, is a great example of that. Beyond what we've already discussed, there are some background improvements to the way that the game looks and runs. The number of regions in a map has been doubled, but no extra RAM is required to house that. So the actual game itself is running much better, genuinely much better. Maybe I lose a few frames moving through turns, particularly as the game becomes larger. Outside of that though, generally speaking, I had no issues, and that is a significant change from the version of the game that released 9 months ago. Speaking of that kind of forward-looking, that future focus, and actually related right back to that change I mentioned at the start, with Stardock overseeing now the design and production of Ara History Untold, in conjunction with their colleagues at Oxide Games and Microsoft. It does very much seem like they've kind of said, okay, let's take a fresh look at this and really revamp this, acknowledging that it both needs to be better and also needs to be distinct. We just take a quick look at a little snippet, Finding a Voice, a very candid comment about 1.4. They say that Ara needs to stand out from games in the genre like Civilization, Humankind, Millennia. The most successful game always finds a way to scratch a certain itch, and being pretty good is not good enough. So, Ara History Untold must have its own unique take, must be compelling, and 1.4 is the first step in that direction. So, in a way, it's, hey, this is great news. I love the changes that have been made so far, to be fair, across the game's post-launch release. There is now the first premium DLC product out for the game too, Untold Scenarios, though I think that's perhaps best covered in a separate video. For now, I'm going to keep watching Ara History Untold, maybe a little closer than I used to be watching it before. And if you'd like to check it out, of course, you can do so using my handy little link down below as we celebrate the end of this video by building a glorious triumph, these significant buildings that take up an entire region. So plan their placement wisely if you intend to build one of these one-offs in what is, I believe, a very grand, a very deep and rich 4X strategy experience here in this version of Ara History Untold. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.